banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room. I love the original Nintendo Game & Watch handhelds, but they're so expensive, which is why the Game & Watch Galleries for the Game Boy Advance are a terrific buy. Let's take a look at Game & Watch Gallery 4! Nintendo has always been the king of handheld game systems, and they established their dominance back in the 80s with the Game & Watch series of LCD games. They're really good, they're fun, they're clever, they're in a league of their own. Annoyingly, they're insanely expensive to collect today. Not only do they say Nintendo on them, which always carries a premium, they're also old, and to find them in good working order is difficult and pricey. So if you just want to enjoy the games and you have a Game Boy Advance, may I suggest the Game & Watch Galleries. This is the fourth one, which has a bunch of the old games and modern remixes, which in many cases are actually even better. This one has Fire, Boxing, Rain Shower, Mario's Cement Factory, Donkey Kong Jr., and Donkey Kong 3. There's also a bunch of unlockable games, including Chef, Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong Octopus, and Fire Attack. In order to unlock those, you need to do well at the game, which is difficult because these aren't easy. Especially when the Retron wipes out my save game files. Gotta be careful with that thing. According to the internet, there's even more unlockable games, basically for a reasonable price. You get a lot of awesome Game & Watch stuff. Frequently, modern remakes can really screw up the original game, but in these cases, they're actually quite clever. I like what they did with Rain Shower and Cement Factory in particular. I find the original Cement Factory pretty much unplayable, but the new one is great. Poor Mr. Game & Watch. Not only is he probably only known by an entire generation as that guy from Smash Brothers, but he was replaced in these remakes by more popular Nintendo characters like Mario. Isn't Mario in enough games? Well, this is a superior version of Cement Factory because it's just more playable, at least by modern standards. It's more forgiving, you can jump down a level without dying. But it's also got some catchy music, and frankly, it just plays well. These are simple games, yet they're addictive, so they're like old school arcade games, which of course, Nintendo was also really good at making. Which, as you can probably tell from the tone in my voice, I wish they would continue to do instead of just putting out mobile games and still trying to compete in the game console industry. They would be like, screw it. We're just gonna go back to making Donkey Kong Jr. arcade cabinets. I think Nintendo's Game & Watch games are brilliant. They had so little to work with, yet they managed to make games that are still fun. More than 3 decades later. Could you see anyone making a game like this today and having it catch on? You're moving shirts out of the way of raindrops. All of these games have one thing in common, which is they get more difficult because they just start to move faster than your brain can process it. These are a lot of fun. This is a great buy. For just a couple bucks, you can get hours and hours of enjoyment. And like I said, you've got to give Nintendo a lot of credit here because I think we've all seen how bad poorly made LCD handheld games can be. I won't mention any names, Tiger Electronics. But if you want to see truly terrible ones, look no further than Tiger Electronics. And I've got a Classic Game Room shout out and thank you going to John from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Thank you, John. Eat a lobster or two for me. Thanks for sending the Game & Watch Gallery 4 to the show. You could spend your money on original Nintendo Game & Watch games, or spend all of that money on Earth Defense Force games and then whatever's left on this. I would do that. EDF, woo! If you're gonna buy the game anyway, buy it through ClassicGameRoom.com. Welcome to the Lord Carnage Club, being shouted from a turbo volcano! Let's thank these Patreon backers, starting with Jeff Breyer. Derek Langley. Michael and Ariana Nelson. Michael Fernandez. Steven Chucknick. Al Stever. Rick DeBarros. Jason Goy. Sergio Matthias Hergert. Chip Sankbale. Busy Signal. Sean Zoltek. Philip Straubenmuller. Jack Stavris. Ohad Kane. Ian Shore. You sure are awesome. And Tiago Pereira dos Santos Silva. Tiago Pereira dos Santos Silva.